Welcome to day one of the Love Breakthrough Virtual Retreat. We are in our 4th year of delivering this event, which has been attended by thousands of women all around the world. So a huge hello if you are a returning participant this year. And if it's your first time joining us, a big welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Peta. I'm the creator and host of the event. And I'm one of 14 love and relationship experts that you're going to get to learn from in this series. And today I'm just going to kick off by giving you a quick overview of what to expect and how you can get the most out of the next 14 days. And then I'm going to begin the first love transformation class, where I'm going to be teaching you how to alchemize the pain of past love. And I'm super excited for this because what I'm going to be sharing with you will actually provide you with a roadmap that will allow you to collapse time on your soulmate journey, simply by being able to laser into the exact thing that's going to create the shift for you and completely change the trajectory of your love life from now on. It's going to allow you to create that conscious partnership that is more harmonious than you've ever experienced before, whether that's a brand new one or whether that's reinventing the partnership that you're already in. So make sure that you stay till the very end. I'm going to be sharing so many beautiful resources with you and across the next 14 days. And I just wanted to also let you know, I created this event especially for women like you who have been on your own personal growth path for some time and who are desiring a conscious partnership that's a match for the vibration that you are now, right? And the beautiful thing is that while that conscious partnership might be what's brought you here, there is so much beautiful inner healing and personal growth and expansion along this soulmate journey, as I call it, the journey between where you are now and when your relationship goals and desires actually manifest. And so by soulmate journey, I either mean a single person looking to create a new partnership, or if you're already in a relationship, to elevate that existing relationship, or to find the grace and clarity to uncouple from the relationship that's not a match for you anymore, if that's what you decide, okay? Because along the way, our relationship experiences, what they're really doing is really reflecting back to us some of the things that we have the potential to be able to heal and evolve from as well. So when we find that in relationship things are uncomfortable, and we find we get triggered, when we find we get scared or we have trust issues, and when we find we have misunderstandings with our partner, or we form, unhealthy patterns, and we see those weaving through all of our relationships, that what that's really doing is showing us that the specific things that we can actually work on, and they might be things like abandonment wounds or boundaries or communication. And obviously we're going to be diving a lot more into those and just touching on some of them to start off with. And I honestly think that like even the dating process itself can also bring up a lot of fears and inner blocks and past hurts and insecurities and sensitivities. And we also start to see when we're dating, moments when we might feel not good enough, or moments when we might feel like I'm lowering my standards and all sorts of things. So this is what this event is going to be helping you sort through and work through, right? And I honestly truly believe that romantic love is actually just a portal. It's really just one entrance, okay, to the whole experience of love and all the opportunities that exist for you to elevate yourself into the frequency of love, right? Because love is actually all around us and it's accessible anytime. It's not just romantic love. We have this with friends and family and pets and just in so many delicious experiences that we have in life, right? So every day throughout the series, you're going to watch a video training with one of our love experts on relationships and attraction, attachment, communication, dating, and so forth. But you're also going to be learning about personal growth topics, things like self-love, authenticity, feminine embodiment. And you're going to notice that you're going to start feeling more amazing in yourself. You're going to start feeling more accepting and more confident as well, and really stepping into that high value version of you, okay? And it's when you're in that place that you really successful at connecting and relating with others because you're actually more connected with yourself. So you're going to be taking away loads and loads and loads of new insights and perspectives and understandings. And I know everyone loves to have these like aha moments, right? Where things just like suddenly make sense and you see things from a completely different perspective that you didn't see before. And definitely some of the topics are going to resonate very deeply and some maybe less so, okay? And that's all okay too, because what you're going to be doing is getting a taste of some of the themes and some of the challenges and some of the insights that our experts are going to be talking about. And then from there, you can start to get very intentional and figure out which ones resonated and what is it exactly that you need support with, where you can focus your energy on, where you can create an action plan on. In today's email, you're going to find a link to download the Love Manifesto workbook. It's also at the bottom of the page today. It's a beautiful downloadable PDF where it contains quizzes and journaling questions. It's a place for you to flesh out all your soul goals, your relationship history, your dreams, collect all your insights for all the 14 days and really map everything out so that you have a really phenomenal, abundant year of love this year. Now, especially for my ladies who identify as the overthinkers and the overanalyzers when it comes to your love life, it's equally as important that we are present with what's happening in our bodies. While we're talking about these relationship concepts and these relationship dynamics, it's going to bring up emotions, it's going to bring up perhaps past relationships, it's going to bring up desires and activate memories as well. So to support you with this in real time, we have beautiful, what I call love activation workshops, which are a short workshop with a practice that you participate in, okay, to bring you back in alignment to love. Things like breath work and Reiki and theta healing. Okay, we're going to be doing some feng shui workshops, some meditations, lots of meditations actually. So make sure you tune in. There's one every day, and that will really help you to embody that feeling of love, right? To actually be in the frequency of love, regardless of your relationship status, so that this whole soulmate journey feels so good and it feels so safe, and you feel so much more confident in who you are and your worthiness and your femininity and your soul sparkle. You can tune into the wisdom of your body, okay? And really get that intuition download so clearly. So regardless of what's happening in the world or around you right now, you are in love with where you're at right now, in love with life and in love with yourself. And although we are mostly going to be referring to this soulmate journey in the context of heterosexual women seeking a committed relationship, please know that what we're going to be teaching you is relevant regardless of whether you're single in a relationship, regardless of your age or the breadth of your past experiences, regardless of your sexual orientation or identity or ethnicity or personal relationship goals. We welcome you, all of you. And what this event is really about is about supporting your individual journey to experiencing love to the fullest, okay? So in each daily email, you're going to get a link to access this virtual retreat room, which is going to look different every day for 14 days. You're going to watch the Love Expert video training. All right, there's some beautiful downloadables and things that you'll be able to, and tools access every day. Then you're going to participate in the Love Activation workshop. All right. And then there's also a daily meditation that you can do as well. There's coloring mandalas and lots of giveaways. Make sure you pop over into our Facebook group because we're going to be having, chats and everyone's connecting over in there. And then on Instagram, we're having a beautiful giveaway, which I'd love you to be part of. We've got over $4,000 worth of gorgeous prizes. You just have to go over there, follow and share one of our posts, super easy, and you'll go in the running to win. You can enter as many times as you like. So all the details are over on Instagram, and there's a link if you go directly to the bottom of the page after we finish this video. You can follow up on all of the next steps. So without further ado, it's time to jump into the first of the daily trainings. I'll see you there. So the topic of today's training is alchemizing the pain of past love. Why did I choose this topic? Okay, and why are we starting with this? It's because I really feel that everything as someone who's worked as a love and relationships coach now for almost 11 years, everything ends up circling back to this. And I'm going to explain what I mean a little bit more as we go. But if you're finding that your soulmate goal or your conscious relationship goal isn't happening for you, it's usually because you're blocked in one of two ways, right? So when I say blocked, what I mean is that you're either continuing to repeat the same patterns and experiencing the same disappointing results as you're dating and in relationships, okay? And it usually comes down to the pattern has some kind of unhealed wound to do with the pain of the past. Or the other way that we can be blocked and kind of really stagnate in our goals to experience conscious partnership is because we have this fear of getting hurt. We have this fear of being rejected or fear of being abandoned. And we might not actually realize that that's what it is. We might just feel demotivated. We might just feel not confident enough to put ourselves out there in situations where we might normally put ourselves out. We might find excuses. So there's really two ways. Either we're actively dating, relating in relationships and connecting, but it's just not becoming what we desire it to be, or there's something even holding us back from even participating in that. And when we explore all the things that go right and all the things that kind of don't go right in the process of dating and connecting in relationships, it all circles back to tuning into and looking at, like, what are some of the pains from my past experiences with love that are impacting what's happening for me today. And so I want to teach you a little bit about how we can actually, what I call, alchemize the pain of that past love and stop yourself from being stuck in either one of these blocked patterns, giving you some hints and some information about our past experiences with love and how they're impacting us in the present moment. So I'm going to be teaching you some beautiful gold nuggets of wisdom about alchemizing the pain of your past relationships. These are kind of the little tweaks that are going to make all the difference for a transformative experience for you on this path to soulmate love, as I talked about, which is a really changing one. And I know that a lot of you would really like to collapse time. For as much as all this healing growth is amazing, if you're wanting to collapse time on your soulmate goal or to speed up the evolution of an existing relationship that you're in so it meets your needs and your desires, it's important that you actually really focus your energy and your time into the things that are going to create that profound shift for you. All right. As I've alluded to, the main block that is underneath these patterns that are keeping us stuck is actually unhealed pain from the past. Okay. And when I say unhealed pain from the past, that can be two things. You might instantly think that I'm talking about unhealed pain from past relationships. Okay. So when we've had a really bad breakup, when we've had toxic patterns, when we come out of a relationship feeling really defeated and deflated, feeling like we're not worthy enough, literally just getting our heart broken and not having healed from that. So past disappointments and pains from past relationships. But also when I talk about unhealed pain from past love, what I'm also referring to is our love programming as a child. What was our experience of loving and being loved as a child, and how that's also starting to show up and impacting our behaviors and impacting our relationships in this now. All right. So it's super important. Like I said, it all circles back to this. And then often there's also this thread of connection as well between the pain that we have from our past relationships and any unhealed pain or unhealthy patterns that we might have had as a child from our childhood. And I'm going to talk more about that. First of all, I just want to obviously quickly introduce myself for those of you who I haven't met before. My name's Peta. I have been a love and relationships coach now for 11 years. My background is in psychology, and for as long as I can remember, I've always been an avid studier of relationships and dating, especially I think back in the 90s was super exciting, and dating strategies. And, my relationship history was that most of the men that I was in a relationship with, and I would actually attract men and have a relationship. They would last 1 year or 2 years. But the relationships were very, very much like a roller coaster. They were very exciting. I had anxious attachment, for those of you who are familiar with that. And it was just a roller coaster of emotions. I was a hot mess roller coaster of emotions. I really struggled to focus on myself, focus on the day-to-day life. I was so consumed in these relationships, and ultimately they weren't sustainable. After 1 or 2 years, they self-destructed essentially, because that level of instability, that level of nervous system dysregulation, like literally the feeling of anxiousness and worry, and there was lots and lots of infidelity in my relationships as well, which I might talk about a little bit more. But eventually I was able to identify these patterns, heal my anxious attachment, and work through a lot of the limiting beliefs and blocks, and some of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today, exactly how I did that as well. And so, I've really found a passion now in helping women do the same thing. My focus has been on helping women who have experienced a lot of pain in their relationships. So particularly women that are going through or coming out the other side of a really painful breakup, and really supporting them through the grief process, really supporting them to get empowered again, really supporting them because oftentimes our life actually feels like we're left in the rubble. Someone's pulled the rug out from underneath us and we have to rebuild all over again. So rebuilding the life that's even more phenomenal than the life that they'd even imagined when they were with their ex, which is really, really important. And, one of the things that I noticed, back in the early days, I was exclusively working with women actually as a breakup coach. And what I would notice is that, they were so focused on healing themselves, so focused on rebuilding their life, so focused on, learning all the skills that I teach as far as managing their emotions and healing all of the attachment, looking at all their old patterns and alchemizing all of the pain, right, that I'm going to be talking about, that they actually just got out the other side and created a life that they really loved and the version of themselves that they always wanted to be. And in that process, what actually happened is that they ended up manifesting or magnetizing a beautiful conscious partnership when it wasn't actually really even their number one goal at the time. And then what would happen is a lot of their friends and girlfriends would, say, how did you turn things around? They notice that my clients are a different person, and that they've been able to also create a really beautiful conscious partnership because of that deeper work that they've actually done. And so in the early stages, I got lots of referrals of friends and colleagues to come and work with me as a love coach. So I kind of became a bit of an accidental love coach. And as I said, I'd already read all the books and learned all the things about how to coach someone through the dating process and how to write an incredible, profile, and, how to show up on a date and what to say and what to do and all of that, that I thought, I started working with these women with the intention of really helping them. But what I noticed is that they weren't able to get the same successes, and move easily and effortlessly into a new, beautiful, conscious partnership as what my breakup clients were. And so I really had to sit down and look at, why was that, right? What was the difference? And this is really sort of what underpins what I'm talking to you today about, as far as the importance of alchemizing the pain of the past, because breakups can be so debilitating when we're in that breakup. And I know that you've probably all felt this, right? All you want to do is get out of the pain. Like, we're literally, our heart is cracked so wide open. We are willing to go deep, and we are willing to do the inner work. We are willing to go through all the steps and do whatever it takes to not feel like this anymore. And through that process, what I also coach my clients is on a deeper understanding of the relationship dynamics that happened in their relationship, and if any of those patterns also existed for them prior to that relationship as well. Because I think it's really important to be able to take ownership of what went wrong from your perspective, not blaming ourselves, over blaming ourselves, but also not just blaming our partner, our ex, and not taking, I guess, the gifts, the lessons, the learnings, the teachings, the things that we can grow and up level from, right? And so through the breakups, there's a really important process of healing and forgiving, and releasing the ex is obviously a really big one. I know that there's probably a lot of you out there that still may be holding a little torch or a little flame to one of your exes. And it's so important that you release your ex, not just physically or mentally, like I'm over him, but also like energetically, emotionally, and spiritually as well, making sure that you release him and that you're really open to receiving someone else. So side note anyway, but my clients really, through this healing process as part of their breakup, were really able to speed up time on this and remove all of the residue, heal all of the hurts of that relationship and past relationships, and also go back and explore if there's any childhood patterns that might have been playing into the breakdown of their relationships. In the process of doing all of that, that's what then allowed them to become an energetic match for their ideal relationship when they weren't even necessarily focusing on it, because the place that they were in was actually more of what we would call, I guess, an inward focus, focusing on self-love, focusing on the healing, on the understanding, on the alchemizing of all of those past pains. Whereas if you're a single or a long-term single, there's no pain that you're in right now. The focus tends to often be outwards. What's happening in my environment? What strategies can I use? What am I seeing? Who's there? What am I noticing? And it's not so much inwards. And unfortunately, that outwards focus, all it can do is just make you feel like why hasn't he shown up yet? Like, why am I not meeting any decent guys, right? It can feel like you're in a place of it's not happening, as opposed to being focused inwards and being so tuned into your own life and having, as I said, alchemized those past pains. It really is the formula for how you are going to collapse time. And one of the most significant pieces to this healing is alchemizing past relationship pain and childhood pain. I often teach within the framework of attachment. For those of you that don't know your attachment style, and I speak a lot about attachment because it really is so encompassing in terms of helping us understand how our past plays into our future and the predictable patterns that fall within each of the different attachment types. I'm not going to talk too much about it today because I do actually have a couple of other trainings that you can watch if you're interested. The link to take the quiz if you don't know your attachment style is directly below the video. And then also up in the menu bar above this video is a bonuses link. And you'll see that there's 2 videos where I talk in a lot more depth about attachment and also the exact process that I use to heal anxious attachment as well, for those of you that are interested. So definitely check that out. You know, one of the important parts that I talk about in the second video is that often the things that we feel have sabotaged us in our relationships, for example, if you have anxious attachment, you know, you might have noticed that you get really nervous, you're not able to be yourself, you're often, you know, attracting emotionally unavailable men, we struggle a little bit to speak up for our needs, and then we start to get frustrated and annoyed because we bottle things up, we second guess ourselves, we're a little bit bad at communicating sometimes until this is all healed. But on the flip side of that, with anxious attachment, we're also extremely devoted, extremely loyal, extremely sensitive to our partner's movements, their moods, their feelings. We're very considerate, and some would say to the point of being sort of like overly focused on our partner. But there are still underpinning all of that some beautiful traits and qualities that lie within each of the different attachment styles. And so while we focus on the things that have perhaps been contributing to our relationships not working, which is most common to the insecure types, and this will make sense for those of you that are familiar with it, there's still beautiful qualities that we can then, once we've healed this, that we can then bring to our new relationships, but in a really, really healthy way. Okay, so that commitment, that loyalty, that devotion, that sensitivity, that caring, all of those things are actually beautiful gifts that we can bring into a relationship once we've alchemized the pain part of it that causes our attachment style to move into a place that's insecure and unhealthy. So how do we alchemize? How do we alchemize the pain of the past? I'm going to give you a few steps today that you can actually start to do right now. So the first thing, if you've got a copy of the PDF workbook, is download a copy of that and map out your relationship history. And I know that you might think it's not that relevant, but it actually is, because it's probably not obvious to you. There is likely going to be something in common with all of those experiences, something that weaves itself through your partnerships, and it won't be obvious. So map out your relationship history, at least your significant relationships, if you've had significant relationships. Okay, the second thing is to get really clear on your attachment style. And then also for some of those significant relationships, particularly the most recent ones, have a sense of what your ex's attachment style is as well. And if it's not obvious, or if you're new to this, or if you are unsure, I've also linked up below the video a sort of an assessment that you can fill out to give you an idea. Now, it's not super scientific, but it'll give you a pretty good idea what attachment style your ex was. So you've got a couple of new pieces to the puzzle, all right? And then the third part of alchemizing the pain of the past is to actually ask yourself, when those relationships weren't working well, or when we were breaking up, how did those relationships make me feel? How did they make me feel when they weren't going so well? Right? And you might come up with things like, I felt like I wasn't important. I felt like he didn't care about me. I felt like I didn't matter. I felt really rejected. I felt insignificant. I felt unloved. Whatever the words are that come up for you, how did I feel? Like, what in that moment? And obviously this really requires you to actually go back in and feel that experience again. So as I mentioned, like, doing this deeper work is not necessarily a walk in the park, but it's quite a beautiful, beautiful process, because when you see where it is that you have these common feelings in a relationship, I felt like I wasn't good enough for someone to want to commit to forever, maybe. And then you'd sort of ask yourself underneath that, what is at the core of these feelings that I felt in this relationship? And you might come up with something like, I just felt not good enough. Or you might come up with something like, I felt unlovable. I felt like there was something wrong with me, right? And there's a whole range of different things that are really at the core. Now, why is this important? Because at the core of all of our relationship experiences, which are really just a mirror, like I said in the beginning, is really the source of these feelings. And it's the source of these feelings that we're carrying all the way through from childhood, and they just end up playing out in our adult relationships. So the next step is to actually ask yourself, when is the earliest time that I started to remember feeling that feeling, starting to remember like I didn't matter, or that there might have been something wrong with me, or that I wasn't enough, or that nobody cared about me? That was my one. Nobody cares about me, right? And usually that's as a child, maybe sort of between the ages of 3 and 10, something along those lines. And once you identify that the source or the deepest of those core beliefs that you have about yourself, that's really now giving you, okay, the very thing to hone in on. Right, that's going to create a beautiful ripple effect in all of your relationships. I don't have time to explain exactly all the ways that it will, but not just in your relationships as well, in you. So healing those old wounds and those old beliefs that you're bringing all the way through your relationships up until now, of whatever that is for you, not being worthy, not being loved, not feeling enough, feeling rejected. It might be everyone I love leaves me. You might have a feeling of abandonment. And then what we also need to do as part of this process of alchemizing the pain of the past in order to create beautiful conscious relationships is also heal any residual trauma from past relationships as well. This is a really fundamental piece of what I do working with my clients, but it's something that we might actually overlook for ourselves. You know, once we're sort of 6, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years out of a relationship, we've kind of moved on, right? We've kind of moved on. But have we actually dealt with the really painful experiences that might have been the catalyst for that breakup? The day that I found out that he was cheating on me, the day that he dropped the bombshell that he wanted to leave, that day, the big fight that we had, that huge big blow up over something, the moment that I felt completely betrayed, there is some trauma in there. And sometimes we haven't completely healed that, and you may be carrying some past sort of trauma from relationships from many, many years ago as well that needs healing. And also, again, at the end of those relationships, we kind of, without realizing, our subconscious creates a story about what that all means about me. I had a series of partners that were unfaithful, and it just kept reinforcing and reinforcing and reinforcing my feeling that I was never going to be enough for someone to want to commit to me long term, that they were always eventually going to look and find someone better and run off, that I was going to be left feeling abandoned, feeling like I wasn't good enough. And so I kept attracting that same experience over and over and over again, until I went back and I healed all of those past hurts, right back to my first boyfriend that cheated on me when we were actually away one weekend at a horse riding event, and we were in the middle of the bush, in the Australian bush, and I couldn't go anywhere, and I caught him in bed with somebody, and it was absolutely devastating. And I never really, until my late 30s, actually went back and discovered how much pain. I was actually having recurring nightmares of something that was similar but not quite the same, that I didn't realize was linked to that early experience. So it's super important that we do that, and that we heal all these feelings of not being worthiness and all these beliefs, which actually has a little bit of a domino effect once we start doing that. And then obviously, under the framework of attachment, circling back and looking at, is there anything to do with my relationship with my dad? Was he emotionally unavailable? Was he physically unavailable? What did I make that mean about me? Was I not good enough? So there's some aspects of our parent-child relationship that we can also heal as well. That's really important as part of this process of alchemizing the pain. You may have a real abandonment wound from one of your parents. One of your parents might have been hurtful or uncaring. And then that pain that still sits within you, once you can alchemize that, right, it no longer impacts your future relationships. So that's a lot for you to get started with, I know. And the good thing is, once you start to uncover what some of the core or the source wound is, like I talked about, there are lots of different things that you can do, and it really depends on your style and your approach. You might be someone who likes to read books or podcasts, or go and get energy healings and do all of your daily practices and your meditations. You might like to seek counseling, or you might like to work with a coach. But I just want to assure you, this isn't just theory. This is at the core of every single transformative coaching experience I have with clients, to get them from where they are now into their conscious partnership and into a life that they actually absolutely adore, which is more important. And that part of that process is also using the framework of attachment as well. So what this is all about is really creating lasting, secure, easeful love that doesn't feel painful anymore, love that has a deep connection, love that is grounded in a lasting commitment, and love that is conscious and facilitates your personal growth. And that's the beautiful thing is now I see my clients in relationships and they actually have the kind of relationships that other women aspire to have. And I want that for you too. All right. I want you to know that you can have a massive breakthrough and turn things around in your life when you address this aspect of alchemizing the past pain and undertaking this work, even before you end up in your ideal relationship, is literally going to change your life. Okay, so what next? Now, if you're someone who has had a painful relationship history and you're moving through a breakup or struggling with attachment to a past ex, and you are ready right now to do the deeper work required to alchemize this and to completely reprogram yourself for healthy love and the benefit of a beautiful quality relationship that is beyond anything that you've ever experienced for, then I invite you, if you're interested in exploring whether private coaching is a good fit for you, to go to the button below the video and apply right now. We can jump on a call and talk about your situation and see if my coaching approach is ideal for you. And that really is if you don't want to waste any more time on this, because unfortunately, the more failed relationships we have, the more disappointing dating experiences we have, are just more layers that add up that we end up needing to sort of peel away and unpattern and heal, and that can end up, you know, contributing to some of the blocks that I talked about in the beginning, right? So don't forget to check out the bonus videos on attachment if you're interested in that. Thanks for joining me today. This work is so life-changing, and I get so excited for each of you that get to dive in and experience this with us over the next 14 days. You're going to receive so much love, so much beautiful insights, and so much support. And it's literally going to change the trajectory of your relationships. Thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.